An expensive inventory doesn't always beat a cheaper one, especially when it's got a carefully thought out theme. That's why today I'm sharing the best full green loadouts across every budget, from cheap hidden gems to high tier skins. They all look incredible with a clean aesthetic. We're diving in with the USP-S, and the Tropical Breeze is a no-brainer for an affordable option that still packs a punch. It's only 29 cents field tested or around $2 factory new, but since it's part of the active drop pool, these prices could come down even further. Another great budget option with a bit more of a futuristic look to it is the PCGRN from the Fever case. If you're going for a two-tone black and green mix, this looks fantastic. Plus, it's under 10 cents field tested or roughly $1.40 factory new. For a more grunge or perhaps realistic military look, you might want to consider the flashback. I think minimal wear offers up the best value here at around the 73 cent mark. Plus, it has an accompanying M4 if you want to match it up. Finally, the monster mashup from the Broken Fang collection will be your premium option. It's still only a classified, but carries a hefty price tag of over $100 in factory new, as it's a direct trade up to the popular M4 print stream. And if you want to pick up any of these, this video's sponsor, Skin Swap, is giving you a skin worth up to $50 entirely for free whenever you do your first trade and use my referral code. If you want to refresh your loadout, you can trade your skins for brand new ones in just a couple of seconds. Plus, their market tab now integrates cheap listings from Chinese sites so you can access the best prices without the need for a Chinese ID or bank account. They accept deposits via crypto, MasterCard, and Visa. If you want to cash out, SkinSwap makes that simple too, with instant sell options to PayPal or crypto. On top of that, they run free daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways with the chance to earn extra entries simply by trading. Use the link below for a 3% lifetime sales bonus and a free skin worth up to $50. Big thanks to SkinSwap for supporting the channel. If you instead want to recreate Hiko's famous moment with the P2K, the Marsh is a fantastic budget option, selling for just 15 cents even in factory new. Alternatively, the Pulse from the Huntsman collection offers a slightly brighter, more geometric design while remaining affordable at $1.44 in minimal wear. Finally, the P2000 Turf would be my pick for a green loadout. It comes from the glove case, which contains some of the most famous items in the game, such as the Pandora's Box or Hedge Maze gloves, so it will likely see high in demand as a trade-up input. It goes for $23 factory new, but looks great even in field tested for just 78 cents. Swapping sides, and we've got some unique combos for the Glock up next. Starting off, and the Glockingbird is a nice option to add a pop of color with its yellow detailing. Plus, I think it pairs up particularly well with the yellow stitching of the hand sweater driver gloves. The Glock Green line is another popular choice, available for as little as 39 cents field tested or around $25 factory new. However, the price has been quite volatile as of late, with uncertainty surrounding the armory rotations. Perhaps an unconventional option, I personally think the Mirror Mosaic from the Genesis Terminal is a banger and pairs quite well with the Specialist Gloves Emerald where we're running this video. This one comes in at $5 field tested or about $23 in factory new. One of my personal favorites is the Glock Nuclear Garden from the 2018 Nuke collection. I'd recommend buying in field tested or minimal wear, as the factory new variant has been subject to large price bumps in recent months, sometimes pushing the price above the $100 mark. Finally, perhaps the ultimate green Glock, the Gamma Doppler. You can pick up a phase 1 to 4 around the $80 mark in field tested, and to my knowledge, this is the only Doppler variant to be available in all 5 wears. Factory new sits around $160. However, if you've got money to spare, then the Emerald is the final boss, currently selling for just under $600 in factory new, but boy does it look sexy. Now before the next weapon skin, it's important to keep in mind that your knife and gloves are really what define the entire loadout, so it's important to choose this early on, as it can greatly impact your budget and which skins work best for each weapon. A fantastic budget option is the Survival Knife Forest DD Pat with a pair of driver glove racing greens, both in minimal wear. This combo comes in at just $121 and is a fantastic entry point. For a little more, the Gut Knife Gamma Doppler Phase 4 alongside the Motor Gloves Turtle in field tested punches well above its weight. A Gamma Doppler knife combo for just $228? That's a steal. The Finish Line Motor Gloves are highly underrated in my opinion, and they pair fantastic with a set of Gamma Doppler Shadow Daggers at a very similar price to the prior combo. If you've got a little more to spend, we can upgrade to an S tier knife with the M9 Bayonet Forest DD Pat in field tested. Paired with its matching Specialist gloves, this combo comes in at $576. Not the best finishes, but at this price point you have to choose between a better knife with a weaker finish or a lower tier knife with a better finish. This next combo is a great example of that. We're running the Bowie Knife Emerald with a pair of Broken Fang Jade gloves in field tested. A beautiful emerald finish on a big blade, and honestly, the Jade gloves have been growing on me a lot lately. As an alternative, you could also pick up a Huntsman Knife Emerald for $611 and a pair pair it with the new hand sweaters in minimal wear for under $1,000. Since these gloves are still fairly new, they could drop even further in the coming months. If budget isn't a concern, then of course you need to consider options like the Emerald Web Specialist gloves alongside an M9 Bayonet Emerald, or why not go for a Butterfly Knife Gamma Doppler in Phase 3 with a pair of field-tested Hedge Maze Sport gloves. Of course, there are more glove options for a green loadout. The Hand Wraps Arboreal or Hydro Gloves Emerald are some solid budget options, or you could also consider the extremely bright line polycams that were recently released in the Dead Hand Terminal. I'm giving away an AK-47 Vulcan in field tested this month. For your chance to win, simply like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. I'll pick the winner on July 31st. Good luck. In terms of agents, there are actually a ton of options for CT sites specifically. The FBI SWAT operator has bright green, plastic-like sleeves for around $10. Marcus Delro has the same style, but his are a slightly darker shade. Sergeant Bompson has a more typical fabric finish with this forearm piece on the left arm. And in fact, there's a couple of variations of this. First Lieutenant Farlow has lighter straps, Tree Hugger Farlow has a camo pattern with a yellow forearm piece, and Biohazard Specialist's sleeves are slightly darker. If you're not a big fan of the forearm accessory, then Agent Buckshot has a really clean, subtle camo design which we're using throughout the video. Alternatively, the 3rd Commando Company has a camo pattern that brings in a bit of grey and orange, which I think works particularly well with the Buckshot gloves. There are a couple of more options including SEAL Team 6 Soldier, Primero Tenente, and 2x McCoy, which you can look at if you're interested. But let's get back to the weapon skins now and move on with the P250. Starting with the skin I've never seen recommended in a green loadout video, the Verdigris. It's bronze, you say? Well, in factory new it is, but pick it up in high float battle scarred and it looks completely different. The entire skin turns neon green and you can pick this up for just 35 cents on SkinSwap. Next up, and the Franklin is a pretty OG skin released all the way back in 2014 as part of the Bank collection. It's very affordable at just $1.39 field tested or around $6 in factory new. Another solid option is the Ironclad, which will only set you back 53 cents even in minimal wear, or about $9 for factory new. If you want to add a bit of excitement to the loadout, I personally really like the P250 Visions, and if you look closely, you'll actually find a snake, eagle, and face hidden in the pattern, which I never knew about before. The See You Later used to be an extremely affordable option, but now costs around $100 in all conditions since the introduction of gold trade-ups, as it's a direct import to the Butterfly Doppler knives. Finally, we have the Nuclear Threat. This was an early collector's skin, being one of the first to have the highly sought after souvenir sticker crafts. It's a bit pricey, going for about $38 field tested or roughly $400 factory new, but it's got a lot of history behind it. Moving on to everyone's favorite Rush B no-stop weapon of choice, the Tech 9. And the Garda is another no-brainer affordable option coming in at just 23 cents in factory new. If you want a minimalistic look, the Groundwater offers up a really clean slate for around $2.50. And although we didn't mention it earlier due to the high cost, it actually has a matching Glock and MP7 skin. I quite like the next option, the Tech 9 Ossified, although it certainly looks much better on brighter maps. The Bamboo Forest offers up a classic sticker craft, the 4X Weed sticker, plus it's also part of the Rising Sun collection that trades up to the AK Hydroponic, likely keeping demand high over time. It's selling for around $60 factory new, but I think minimal wear offers up great value at about $12. Then once again, we finish on the Nuclear Threat. It's actually an extremely rare skin with under 200 in existence in factory new. So once again, I'd probably suggest buying it at field tested or minimal wear. For the 5.7, the best budget option would likely be the Jungle from the Aztec collection, Ancient's map predecessor. At over $50 factory new, I think the $8 price tag for minimal wear is your best bet. The Hotshot is another older skin with a simple finish. Similar scenario here, I think the best value is in minimal wear for around $11. And while it's not a perfect match for all loadouts, I actually think the 5.7 Hyper Beast could be a solid option depending on the gloves you're running. And then finally, we have the Neon Kimono, which definitely pairs better with a brighter pair of gloves like the Hedge Mazes, for those of you going for a more lime neon vibe. This one carries a hefty price tag, as like the Bamboo Forest we mentioned earlier, it trades up directly to the AK Hydroponic. Moving on, and there's a surprising number of fantastic dual Beretta skins available here. The Polished Malachite is a great budget option, once again part of the active Boreal collection. That seems to be a trend in this video. If you've decided to run an agent with camo sleeves, the dual Beretta Switchboard might just be a perfect match, coming in at roughly $6 factory new. Or if you want to own a skin from one of the most legendary collections in the game, the Briar is part of the 2014 Cobblestone collection, home to the Dragon Lore. The dual Berettas Retribution are a pretty unique skin in that they are no longer obtainable. They were actually submitted by the same designer as the infamous M4A4 Howl, and when the copyright fiasco took place, all of his skins were removed from the Huntsman case, meaning no more of them can ever be unboxed. So for $5.60, you can earn another bit of Counter-Strike cult history. The Cobra Strikes are a great option if you want that brighter finish. However, I think the dual Berettas Emerald will be an obvious choice for many. Super clean and can easily match up to your knife glove combo for around $40. The Desert Eagle is up next, and there are some real heavy hitters here. As an affordable option, the Tilted from the 2024 Overpass collection is selling for just $1.60 factory new. However, the real star of the show is the Emerald Jormungandr, one of the most popular Deagle skins in the entire game, and part of the Norse collection. It's down from its nearly $1,400 peak last year, but will still set you back about $700 in factory new. It might be worth it though. The other notable option here is the hand cannon from the Cobblestone collection. There's not a lot of difference in price between conditions, and actually the pattern does become more green rather than cyan at higher wears, so that's something to consider. And while it's not exactly a pistol, if you're looking for a green Zeus skin, the Swamp DD Pat is really your only choice, but it's only a couple of cents. Let's move on to the SMGs now, and we'll jump in with the MP9s. Guess what guys, the Boreal collection is back once again. This time with the Pine. Not too exciting, but this thing is pretty much free. Another great alternative is the BioElite, still under $1 in all conditions, or you could go for the Old Roots, which actually has some nice detailing, kind of that medieval style tapestry, and just $2 factory new. If you're going for a two-tone black and green inventory, then the Deadly Poison from the Chroma 1 collection is a great shout. A bit of detail, all while keeping that clean look for just 50 cents in field tested, or about $6 factory new. And then to finish off, we have the Hydra. This one has seen quite a bit of price volatility since the start of the year, so minimal wear might be a safer option at around the $12 mark. Swapping sides, and for the Mac 10, there's a couple of skins here you might have never seen before. The Acid Hex is your first entry point at just 15 cents in factory new, and while there is a lot of yellow, it's a pattern-based skin, so you can definitely find ones with a higher green percentage. The Poplar Thicket is another extremely budget-friendly option at under $1 in factory new. Then for a couple more dollars, we've got the Surfwood from the Scent Mark collection. This is definitely a much more pale, mint-like shade of green, however, certain patterns definitely come across bolder, so I suggest you use a site like skincraft.gg to have a look through the pattern templates with ease. Then to finish off the Mac 10s, we have the big brother of the Glock with the Nuclear Garden once again. I really like this skin family, and you can pick it up for around $15 field tested or $64 factory new. Good news for you if you like wielding the MP7, as you've got a plethora of solid choices for a green inventory. The motherboard from the 2018 new collection is a fantastic starter option, available for as little as 40 cents, even in factory new. You may be able to match up the MP7 Forest DD Pat to your gloves and Agent sleeves if you've chosen to go with his counterparts. Not my favorite finish, but the cohesion could be a nice way to go. For something a bit more playful, the Empire is available for around $1.70 field tested or $7 factory new. At a very similar price point, you also have the Tall Grass, which would probably be my pick for the MP7. Not sure why I like it so much, perhaps it's the kind of paint stroke finish, but I think it looks great. The Power Core might be your best option if you like the anodized gunmetal finish, a really shiny weapon, and I love the yellow detailing here. Then finally, we have the Teal Blossom. This is a pricey skin despite only being mil-spec grade. That's because it's part of the St. Mark collection and trades up to the popular AK Wild Lotus. Let's not waste any time and jump into the rifles, starting with the M1S. A fantastic option for those on a budget is the Emphosaurus from the Revolution case. And good news, it actually wears extremely well, so even in field tested, it looks great for as little as 30 cents. The Boreal Forest is also available for around the 30 cent price point in minimal wear. However, for just $1 more, I think picking up the Electrum in field tested is an absolute steal. This is your blue phosphor M4 Hot Rod equivalent at a fraction of the price. And for just $10, you can also pick it up in factory new. If you want perhaps a more realistic, battle-hardened finish, the Flashback from the glove case has been receiving a lot of attention recently. That's because its factory new variant has climbed from just a couple of dollars all the way to the $200 mark over the last 12 months. I'm not sure this price is sustainable long term, so if you want to get in here, I'd definitely be prioritizing minimal wear for around $16. However, my favorite green M4 skin is without a doubt the Moss Quartz from the Norse collection. This is an absolutely beautiful skin that I think went underrated for a long time, especially considering it's only industrial grade. Moving on to the M4A4 though, and the Chopper is a fantastic pickup for just $1.64 factory new. For that traditional woodland camo style, this will pair nicely with quite a few of the Agent sleeves we mentioned earlier. The Jungle Tiger is another option, however I think it's quite overpriced for what you're getting. Instead, I'd prefer to run the Battle Star from the Operation Wildfire case. For around $25, you can get this almost space-like ship, sci-fi finish in field tested. And to finish off the M4s, of course, there's always the full throttle. I wasn't a big fan of this upon release, to be honest, as it really reminded me of the Hot Wheels cars I played with as a kid, but hey, it's green. And if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to subscribe for more CS2 skins content. When you think of a green loadout, there's probably a few AKs that come to mind, but as I was putting this list together, I actually came across a couple you've probably forgotten about. The Olive Polycam from the Sport and Field collection is a simple, get the job done budget option, selling for as little as 50 cents factory new. However, a fantastic alternative is the Wintergreen, which you can pick up for under $1 in field tested or about $5 in factory new. As a bonus, this is a great base for sticker crafts as it's super clean. Another skin that people love using for stickers is the Emerald Pinstripe. This is very reminiscent of the OG skin collections Valve released over a decade ago, and while it doesn't have any intricate pattern, it's iconic in its own way. A much more recent release is the Ice Cold. This was released in 2022 as part of the Recall case, and actually had an orb sharing the same pattern released last year. For $7 minimal wear, I think it's great value. A fairly divisive skin is up next, the Outsiders. I'm personally not a big fan of the almost childlike, messy design, but others see its charm. The good news is it holds up pretty well in higher wears, so you can pick it up in field tested for just $7 and it still looks pretty similar to factory new. For another clean sticker base, you could pick up the Emerald Laminate for $23 field tested or roughly $70 factory new. And then the final skin that kind of falls into that pure nostalgia category is the First Class. I remember having one of these back in 2014 when it was worth 11 bucks. The good old days. Then from here, we really start to see some of the heavy hitters, such as the Aquamarine Revenge, and for whatever reason, I actually really like how this one looks with the Driver Gloves Racing Green. There's the AK Jaguar going for around the $72 mark in field tested, or approximately $6.50 in factory new. And then we get to one of my favorite AK skins in the game, the Fire Serpent. This is another skin that people have mixed feelings on, but it's iconic and I simply love it. Then you can probably guess the final two options. Of course, we have the AK Hydroponic that we hinted at earlier, and then one of the most popular skins in the entire game, the AK Wild Lotus from St. Mark. Both of these skins will set you back 4 digits, even in field tested. So if you want to know the prices, you can check them out for yourself. But spoiler alert, you're not going to like them. For the secondary rifles, we've got the Galil Green Apple for just 29 cents factory new. This is a great pickup, and although we didn't discuss shotguns in this video, it also has a Nova to match. There's also the NV, although I personally prefer the clean look of the Green Apple as a budget option. The Galligator actually has a fun little Easter egg. At higher floats, the crocodile gets a mustache, so depending whether you like that, you could go for a higher float. A fourth pretty affordable choice would be the Vandal. I didn't like this skin at first, but it's kind of grown on me with its hot rod flames and checkerboard pattern at the top. I don't see many people running the amber fade in a green loadout. However, at a low percentage fade like on pattern 359, where the body remains mostly green, I think it actually works quite well. Or if you prefer to go for some classic green options, there's the Galil Eco that was released as part of the Chroma 2 collection back in 2015, and I think goes particularly hard with the hedge mazes. It's not available in factory new, so minimal wear is the best condition for about $130, but you can pick it up for just $12 in field tested. And then the skin I actually currently use myself, the Cerberus. I think this skin looks incredible, however it will set you back up to $250 for factory new. There's not quite as many options for its CT side counterpart, however the Meow 36 offers up an easy affordable pick at just $1.36. As an alternative, I actually quite like how the faulty wiring pairs up with a lot of the green gloves. It works with the emerald webs we've been using, but also with cheaper options like the Hydro Gloves Emerald or even the Racing Greens, as those darker palms match the metallic grey quite nicely. There are a couple of other options like the Palm, Colony and Spitfire, but I personally wouldn't rock any of them, so I won't waste more of your time with those. Let's also touch on the sniper rifles, and for the SSG, the green ceramic is a straightforward pick at only 4 cents, even in factory new. However, another cheap option is the acid fade, but you've got to pay attention to the patterns here. If we compare pattern 331 with pattern 80, you'll notice a big difference in the amount of yellow above the trigger, so you'll definitely want to look for one with maximum green. Alternatively, for around $1.70, you could pick up the Spring Twilly in field tested, or go for factory new at $12. Finally, we reach the big green, and the cheapest option here is the default orb. Trust me, even the pros use it. Jokes aside, you can't go wrong with the Pit Viper. This one isn't available in factory new, so minimal wear is the best condition at $1.50. The Phobos won't fit every green loadout, but I think it looks great with some of the darker shade gloves like the Racing Greens. As I hinted earlier, we have the AK's partner in crime, the AWP Ice Cold. However, one of my favorite picks here would have to be the Atheris. This skin has always punched well above its price point, although its factory new variant has seen significant price pumps recently, so I'd probably be buying it at minimal wear for around $8. The AWP Green Energy also holds up pretty well in minimal wear, offering a bold skin for around the $20 mark. This is a solid pickup. And then finally, my top recommendation would have to be the Containment Breach from the Shattered Web case. This is Tyrion Lannister's Wet Wildfire Dream. Beautiful, neon green, it really stands out in-game, but carries a nearly $600 factory new price tag. For $91 in field tested though, I'd still highly recommend it. If I missed any of your favorite green skins, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe for more CS2 Skins content. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.